You ever have one of those moments in football where you just feel the shift? Like the entire league tilts on its axis, and you know something big just went down? That's what this feels like. Because this week, the Cleveland Browns didn't just make a trade, they started a war. And the man caught in the middle of it, Mike Tomlin. Yeah, the same Mike Tomlin who's been the definition of class and composure for nearly 2 decades. But this time, he lost it. This time, the gloves came off. And the target of that explosion was Browns GM Andrew Berry, and maybe even something bigger brewing behind closed doors. I've watched this league long enough to know when something isn't normal. And trust me, this isn't normal. The Browns just sent a message loud and clear, and Mike Tomlin never saw it coming. After his shocking comments about Shedeur Sanders and Joe Flacco, Andrew Berry finally pulled the trigger.
Tired of boring phone cases? Here's your chance. My Etsy shop is packed with exclusive designs that let you show off your team pride in style. And the best part, you'll unlock discounts when you hit favorite, more savings when you add to cart, and even surprise discounts on your second purchase. Don't wait. Click the link in the description and grab your favorite now.
But what happened behind the scenes between these two AFC North rivals is absolute madness, the kind of chaos that could change how every coach in the NFL talks about Shedeur Sanders moving forward. When I first saw the headlines, I thought it had to be taken out of context. Mike Tomlin, the Tony Dungy disciple, the guy who never calls anyone out publicly, wouldn't cross that line. Right? Wrong. Tomlin broke one of football's biggest unwritten rules. He sat there mid-press conference and said these words: Andrew Berry must be a lot smarter than me, because it doesn't make sense to trade a quarterback you thought enough of to make your opening day starter to a division opponent that's hurting in that area. That wasn't just a shot. That was a detonation. You could feel the air get sucked out of the room. The analyst sitting next to him froze. One of them whispered, "That's the Browns culture versus the Steelers culture. The Steelers try to win." And that's when it hit me. Tomlin wasn't just venting. He was drawing a line in the sand. See, the NFL has this invisible rulebook, a code every coach and GM lives by. You don't air dirty laundry in public. You don't name names. You don't torch bridges because someday, that same person might be the one hiring you. They call it professional courtesy. And Mike Tomlin, of all people, knows it better than anyone. But this time, he didn't care. Because what the Browns did, trading their opening day starter Joe Flacco to a division rival in the middle of a playoff race, crossed a line that no one in the league could believe. You're talking about the AFC North, the toughest, most ruthless division in football. You don't help your enemy. You don't give ammunition to the Bengals while you're still fighting for the same postseason spot. It's football suicide. Now, here's where things go from strange to crazy. Because a few insiders, and I mean credible voices, are starting to say something that flips this whole story upside down. One of them said, Andrew Berry didn't make that decision. He executed it. That move came from above him. Let that sink in. If that's true, Tomlin's fury wasn't really aimed at Berry. It was aimed at whoever's pulling the strings in Cleveland's front office, maybe even ownership itself. Tomlin's no fool. He's been around too long to lash out without purpose. He knew that quote would echo through every locker room, every owner's office, and every executive suite in the league. And he wanted the right people to hear it. But let's not lose sight of the most fascinating name tangled in this chaos, Shedeur Sanders. Because this entire drama, the trades, the public jabs, the front office meltdowns, it's all happening under the watchful eye of a young quarterback whose potential might define the next decade. Shedeur's name has become more than just a headline. It's a measuring stick for leadership, for confidence, and now for controversy. Every GM and coach in the league is watching how Cleveland handles its quarterbacks right now. Because if they're willing to flip an opening day starter in October, what does that say about how they'd treat him someday? And here's where it gets deeper. This isn't just about talent. It's about culture. One analyst put it perfectly. That's the difference between the Steelers and the Browns. The Steelers build. The Browns burn. The Steelers fight through adversity. The Browns create it. Tomlin's press conference was more than frustration. It was a mirror held up to an entire organization that can't seem to get out of its own way. Cleveland's still dealing with the aftermath of that massive Deshaun Watson contract, one of the ugliest in NFL history. They've got cap problems, locker room issues, and now they're publicly undermining their own credibility in front of every player in the league. It's dysfunction. Televised. So when Tomlin spoke, it wasn't just about a quarterback trade. It was about pride, about principle, about how the game should be played. Because Tomlin didn't just say, "I disagree." He said, "We are not the same." Steelers culture versus Browns culture. One plays to win. The other plays to survive. And if you listen closely, there was something else buried in that message, something the cameras didn't catch, but every insider understood. Mike Tomlin was warning everyone watching. He was saying, this is what happens when leadership loses its soul. And as the dust settles, one question lingers. Was this just a shot across the bow, or the start of something bigger? Because if the Browns implode again, if they waste another quarterback, another era, that explosion we saw from Tomlin won't just be remembered as a rant. It'll be remembered as the moment the rest of the league finally stopped pretending Cleveland knew what it was doing. And through it all, Shedeur Sanders is watching. Young, focused, ambitious, taking notes on how not to run a franchise. Because when it's his time to lead a locker room, to define a culture, to carry a team, he's going to remember every second of this madness. You ever look at the Browns and wonder what in the world they're doing? Because I swear, every time you think Cleveland is about to turn a corner, they grab the wheel, spin it around, and drive straight off a cliff. The Browns' quarterback decisions over the past few years have been absolutely insane. And I don't mean the normal kind of NFL front office weird. I mean pure chaos. They signed Joe Flacco, a veteran who actually gave them a spark, and then traded him away like he was disposable. Then they went and traded for Kenny Pickett, as if stealing a struggling division rival's quarterback was going to fix anything. And if that wasn't confusing enough, in the middle of a game week, they traded their opening day starting quarterback. Who does that? Teams that want to win don't do that. Teams that care about stability don't do that. So it begs the question, who's really calling the shots in Cleveland? Is it Andrew Berry? Is it the Haslam ownership group? Or is there someone behind the curtain, some voice pulling strings, making decisions that don't make any football sense? Because one thing's for sure, Mike Tomlin doesn't go nuclear on live TV unless he knows something the rest of us don't. And that's what makes this whole mess even worse for Browns fans. Because what analysts started pointing out next made every Cleveland supporter sick to their stomach. The Browns' cap situation isn't just bad, it's historically bad. One analyst said it perfectly, the cap isn't a myth. When you get it right, you're fine. But when you miss, it destroys you. And the Browns? They missed. Hard. The Deshaun Watson trade isn't just a bad move, it's being called the worst trade in NFL history. And before you roll your eyes and say, wait, what about Herschel Walker? Let's break it down. The Browns gave up 3 first-round picks, 2 third-round picks, and a 4th-round pick. 6 total draft picks gone. That's 6 young players who should be on the field right now, building the future. And what did they get in return? A quarterback who's been injured, inconsistent, and carrying a contract so massive it's choking the entire franchise. Deshaun Watson tore his Achilles last season, and when he has been on the field, he's been flat-out bad. And because of his fully guaranteed $230 million contract, the Browns can't move him, can't cut him, can't build around him. They are stuck. But here's the part that really twists the knife. The guy they moved on from to make room for Watson, Baker Mayfield, is balling out. Baker is now a legitimate MVP candidate. He's leading the NFC in wins. He's resurrected his career in Tampa Bay. And Cleveland decided to dump him because he played through an injury and struggled for 1 season. Think about that. They moved on from a tough, competitive, homegrown quarterback who played hurt for the team. And traded 6 picks and their soul for a guy who can't stay healthy and hasn't looked elite in years. That's not just bad management, that's football malpractice. And look, other teams have made huge trade mistakes too. The Broncos traded 2 first-rounders, 2 seconds, and a 5th for Russell Wilson. The Niners gave up 3 firsts to draft Trey Lance. Both of those looked awful, but those teams recovered. The Broncos found Dylan Gabriel and started over. The Niners found Brock Purdy and made it back to the Super Bowl. The difference? They found their guy. The Browns can't recover because they're handcuffed to Watson's contract. And that's where the real issue starts. Because this isn't just about missing on a trade, it's about an entire organization that doesn't seem to care about winning anymore. Multiple analysts said it outright. The Browns aren't trying to win this season. They're just trying to survive it. One guy said, "I've been saying this since June, they're not trying. If you're yelling about what they should have done, stop. They're just trying to get through the year." And that's terrifying. Because when an NFL team stops trying, it doesn't just lose games, it loses its soul. But not everyone agreed. Another analyst pushed back hard. He said, "Not trying to win is not a strategy. That's how things unravel. Coaches and GMs don't survive that." And he's right. Because history proves it, tanking doesn't work in the NFL. Name one successful franchise built on losing on purpose. You can't. The Chiefs didn't tank. The Ravens didn't tank. The 49ers didn't tank. The winners in this league build cultures. The Browns? They build chaos. Right now, Cleveland is the cautionary tale. They made the worst trade in NFL history. They panicked. They gave up everything for one player. They burned down the house, and the same people who started the fire are still standing in the ashes holding blueprints for the rebuild. Andrew Berry is still there. Ownership is still silent. And now, with the 2025 draft looming, they are staring at another crossroads. Because there's a name that keeps coming up in every draft conversation: Shedeur Sanders. A quarterback who has all the tools, accuracy, composure, leadership, and the mental toughness that Cleveland so desperately lacks. If the Browns somehow end up in position to draft him, this might be their one final chance to fix what they've broken. But here's the terrifying question: can they be trusted to get right? Because if you're Shedeur Sanders, do you even want to go to Cleveland? Do you want to walk into the franchise that made the worst trade in NFL history, that's buried in cap hell, that publicly admits it's not trying to win? Most quarterbacks would pull an Eli Manning and say, "No thanks." But Shedeur? He's different. This kid's been under pressure his whole life. He rebuilt Jackson State with his dad, Deion Sanders. Then he came to Colorado, a program everyone laughed at, and turned it into must-watch TV. Colorado was dead before Shedeur got there. Now it's alive. That's what leaders do. They elevate everyone around them. That's exactly what the Browns need. Not another overpaid superstar. Not another quick fix. A real leader. A quarterback who can walk into that locker room, demand accountability, and change the culture. That's what Shedeur brings: confidence, poise, a fire that doesn't fade when the spotlight hits. Now, let's be real, he's not perfect. He'll hold onto the ball too long sometimes. His arm strength isn't elite. But you can't measure heart. You can't measure leadership. And that's what Cleveland has been missing for decades. Because the truth is, the Browns don't just need a quarterback, they need an identity. And that's why the 2025 draft is everything. It's not just about finding talent. It's about proving this front office can still be trusted to make a competent decision. Because right now, the Browns are a joke. Mike Tomlin said it without saying it: this isn't how you run a football team. The Steelers have a culture of winning. The Browns? They have a culture of chaos. If Cleveland passes on Shedeur Sanders, if they convince themselves Deshaun Watson can still be fixed, if they draft someone else and get wrong again, then they deserve every bit of the backlash that's coming. Because at that point, it's not bad luck anymore. It's a choice. And let's be honest, Mike Tomlin didn't go off like that for nothing. He knows what's happening in Cleveland is bigger than football. It's about accountability. It's about how you treat your players, your fans, your future. When he called out Andrew Berry on national TV, that wasn't just a coach throwing shade at a rival. That was a warning. A warning that this kind of dysfunction spreads. It poisons locker rooms, ruins careers, and destroys fan bases. The Browns' house is burned down. But here's the thing, they still have a chance to rebuild it. The 2025 draft is their chance to prove that they can learn from their mistakes. Shedeur Sanders is their chance to start over the right way. Draft a young quarterback. Build around him. Give him weapons. Protect him. Believe in him. And for once, stop panicking when things get hard. Because that's the only way you build something real in this league. Look at the Chiefs. They developed Patrick Mahomes. The Ravens developed Lamar Jackson. The Niners developed Brock Purdy. The Texans developed C.J. Stroud. You know what those teams have in common. They didn't buy success. They built it. The Browns, on the other hand, tried to buy theirs, and it cost them everything. But it doesn't have to stay that way. If they draft Shedeur Sanders, if they finally build the right way, they could change the entire story. They could turn the punchline into a comeback. Shedeur has the talent, the leadership, and the mindset to make that happen. But he needs a franchise that's ready to believe again. So here's my question to you. Do you think the Browns will finally get it right? Will they draft Shedeur Sanders and start a new era in Cleveland? Or will they screw up again like they always do? Because right now, the entire NFL is watching. And this might be the Browns' last chance to stop being the league's biggest joke and start being something worth believing in again. If you want to follow how this all plays out, the chaos, the rebuild, the redemption, hit that subscribe button because trust me, this story's just getting started.